honestly, I don't think it's fair to tar all the people who were members of Fianna Fáil with the mistakes that the government made, particularly given that, and Bill is agreeing with me on this, that I didn't see a huge amount of disagreement on the opposition benches from those policies. In fact, I seem to remember in the 2007 election, Fine Gael and Labour were advocating pretty much the same policies, wanted to spend even more money, and refused to even challenge the government's growth forecast. They adopted the government's growth forecast in their 2007 manifestos. So I think this generalised, tarring of people who are in Fianna Fáil, I think we're going a little bit too far. Certainly the last government made horrendous mistakes, but politics is a complicated business, and I think at the root, the vast majority of people in all parties are in it for good motives, and I think they deserve the benefit of the doubt. Unless you can prove that they have been corrupt or that they have made mistakes, they're in it for the good of the citizenry. And I'm sure that, in fairness to him, Sean Gallagher, like the other presidential candidates, is one of those people who is in it for the common good. But that won't stop us asking tough questions. And having defended him, I will say something negative about him and the other presidential candidates. The amount of syrupy, gooey, wishy-washy, well-meaning, vague statements that we are going to be subjected to in this presidential campaign is really awful. And we're going to do some sort of a competition with all of the presidential candidates. We're going to have a competition for the most banal, gooey, syrupy kind of yuck. Yeah. And we are going to, you know what we're going to do, Bill?
What?
We're going to play it to the background music of Joan Baez singing Kumbaya, My Lord.
That's it.
That will be our damning indictment of the syrupy goo that's going to come.
Did you hear the bad news I'm going to tell you, Coleman?
Tell me, Bill.
You and I are going to do 3 medical programmes.
Oh, now, Bill, don't scare.
Not in here. We'll go put them on tape, right?
Okay.
And we will see who'll do them. And we're going to go to the real issues all over the country with solutions, Mark.
Well,
not whinges.
Bill,
and you're going to do most of the talking.
No, you're the expert, Bill. I'll tell you what we will do, though.
Yeah.
Bill. What we will do is we will have a thorough programme on health policy.
Yeah, policy.
Should we scrap the HSE or
reform it big time?
I think the more we look back on what Mary Harney did, and I know you're not a fan of hers.
I'm not.
But I think she did the dirty job that the lads were not willing to do, and I think she achieved a lot of good, and I think it wasn't possible to say so and be heard when she was in power. But I think the more we move away towards the future, I think we will be able to look back and say, actually, she did some good, and that a lot of good has been done in the health sector in the last couple of years, and we're going to have to recognise
But Mark,
that.
We've got to go and look at solutions about what people are suffering from, because I could just give you, I've been doing the surgery for the last few days, and I could just tell you some of the awful things that happen.
That too. Now we have the papers in, and we're going to be turning to those in just a second. But first of all, we're going to take, before we go to tomorrow's papers, which we now have in before us, we're going to take a short break.
Mortgage holders, if you're concerned by rising mortgage repayments, InsureSave.ie can now help you search for a better deal and save money on your mortgage protection costs. InsureSave.ie is helping mortgage holders reduce protection costs by up to 20% or more. We do our best to help mortgage holders reduce protection costs and save money. Call 1850-829-829. That's 1850-829-829 or visit insuresave.ie. Irish Mortgage Corporation Limited, trading as insuresave.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Catherine Sheehy talks about motivation.
It was time for a huge change. I found the one-to-one consultations encouraging. They kept me motivated.
Through private individual consultation, healthy eating plans and behaviour modification programmes, we'll help you reach and maintain your desired weight.
I feel absolutely brilliant. I'm a new wife, I'm a new mother, I'm a new person. I've lost 7 stone. My friends don't recognise me.
Take action now and call 1850 306 6000 or visit motivation.ie.
If you're serious about losing weight, motivation is the answer.
News Talk 106 to 108.
Taxi, 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 taxi. Taxi, 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 taxi.
Alright, stop.
I need a cab to Dublin. Get me there quick or you get me in trouble. How you doing, boss? Jump in the back and I'll take you into town where you'll have a bit of crack. Turn off the light, yo, and let's go. Two Stevens Green and not too slow, can you handle? Step on the gas and burn it up like a candle.
Fancy winning free tickets to events around Dublin? Follow National Radio Cabs on Facebook for your chance to win.
677 2222, yeah.
Back to school time. You know what that means. At least when you're looking for real value, you know you'll find it at Tesco, where we've hundreds of back-to-school offers, like selected Kellogg's and Weetabix cereals for just $2.50. See a store for details. Tesco. Every little helps.
Coleman at Large on News Talk 106 to 108.
Welcome back to Coleman at Large, and we have just been supplied with some of the papers, not all of them, some of them. So such as we have them, let me read out what we have. The Irish Independent is leading with the headline, wage gap of €80 a day costs 600 their jobs. And that is the sad news of the Talk employees in Waterford who've lost their jobs. And it says that 600 of the call centre workers are losing their jobs because their work can be done for 1/10 of the cost in Asia. At the bottom of the Independent, the country's former top civil servant, who has just retired with a 600,000 package, was linked last night to a plum job as an ambassador in the Vatican. And a thug has robbed a woman at her parents' grave. That's another shocking story of a degenerate criminality of the highest order, or the lowest order, I should say. In the Irish Daily Mail, the lead story is a country run from the bar. According to Senan Maloney, Brian Cowan and his friends in the Dole Bar was influenced by his friends in the Dole Bar far more than was good for the political process, and he sidelined the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party. That's according to claims in the TV3 documentary on the party. And the staff were told of the 570 job cuts before a €1 million party. The 600 call workers we were just talking about were planning to attend a lavish €1 million party celebrating the company's success. Seemingly this was a company that was actually in aggregate doing quite well and profitable. It's just that the workers in Asia and the Philippines were a lot more cost effective from the company's point of view, which raises all sorts of questions. Shocking, says the front page of the Irish Independent. Workers will escape tax hikes if the Troika cuts a new deal. Workers will only be spared income taxes in the budget if the government can cut a new deal with the EU IMF. The Taoiseach last night insisted the previous government, in its memo of understanding, signed off in a situation where, if agreed, it agreed that there would be 250 million in income tax taken from the taxpayer for each of the next 3 years, and that is up for a renegotiation now, said Mr. Kenny. The shocking title, the shocking word, I think, refers to the fact that the story of the sad loss of jobs in the Talk Centre is worked, it's weaved into the fabric of that story. Then to the side of it, foreign doctors were not warned about delays. The story by Catherine Shanahan. We were talking about it yesterday, about how €20,000 was being spent a week. Was it a week or a month, Bill?
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous what's going on.
On the doctors from Pakistan and India who were being kept waiting.
I've been saying for ages, Mark, that medicine is completely overregulated. One of the guys in Beaumont was telling me that some of the GPs are coming into the medical conference at 8 a.m. to get CME points. That's continuous medical education points, because they have to get 50 a year, which is ridiculous for busy GPs.
Well, this
has got to be reformed. What's going on is over the top.
Okay, this story is that junior doctors recruited from India and Pakistan were led to believe that there would be a minimum delay in their date of starting work, but most remain idle 2 months later, and some are running out of funds.
You know what the HSE is doing at the moment, Mark? They're telling doctors in Blanchardstown Hospital to cut their clinical use, their clinical load by 10%, stop doing 10% of their work, and at the same time they're going to meetings with doctors' unions telling them that they want to make them work more than 40 hours a week at the same time, in the same places. All right. In other words, sit around and do nothing.
All right, and then we turn to the Irish Times, which leads with Noonan seeks ECB meeting over 1 billion Anglo bond debt. The minister is expected to meet Trichet, ECB President Jean-Claude Trichet, in Poland next week as he attempts to avoid repaying a $1 billion it's $1 billion, not 1 billion euros, or a 711 million euro debt that is owed by Anglo-Irish Bank. The minister declared 3 months ago that the International Monetary Fund was supporting his efforts to impose big losses on the holders of unguaranteed, unsecured bonds in Anglo. Mark, any opinion on that?
Well, the ECB have outlined their position that bondholders should not be burned in any way whatsoever. So it's going to be difficult to see how Michael Noonan will achieve his objectives.
All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Cabinet to discuss sale of ECB and Aer Lingus to raise funds. The government will today consider proposals to sell some state assets, including a stake in ESB. The ESB proposal is one of the main items set out in a memorandum drawn up by the Minister of Public Expenditure and Reform, Brendan Howlin, on the sale of state assets, which will be discussed in Cabinet today. We'll be back at that in a moment. And then at the bottom of the front page of the Irish Times, university plans to make its students model graduates. Dublin City University is seeking to instill employer-friendly attributes, quote-unquote, in graduates. The university has identified 6 characteristics that it believes will prepare graduates for work in the 21st century, such as being creative, enterprising, committed to continuous learning, solution-oriented, effective communicators, globally engaged and active leaders.